I think people are slowly joining. We'll wait. Anyway, see, yesterday what we were talking about, we created a simple, static data with simple static data, and we are trying to get the results. So that is what the simple thing we did. Unfortunately, while giving the demo, my laptop power is gone, so that's where we stopped. Okay. I'm just opening. So I hope everyone installed MongoDB also. Okay. So now what we did yesterday, we created a models. Let me create the model. Everything I lost, whatever I had the data, I lost. So probably you people are having these things already with you. So I'm going to create the models. I think which you people already done that. Right. Inside the models, we are going to create the inquiry model, right? So that's what we did. It will take a class library class only. And then we need to put the properties for this. Okay. So inquiry.cs. And then we need to add the attributes, or I can say properties for this one. Okay. So we added, it won't take much time. I'll do quickly. If anybody is missed, please add those information. So we'll say student name and copy paste quickly. So then father's name. Not necessarily to take the same model. You can create order model, employee model, whatever you want. Standard, then board. Then we have called contact number. Then email ID, then address. Basically, contact number is a long, and then email ID. And then email ID, sorry, email ID, contact number. If anybody not yet done, please try to do this. And we need to create has a relation, right? With this, we need to create one more class called public class, say address. So again, address will have something called house number or city house number, those kind of things. House number, street name, or name you can provide, and then you'll have city. And then you will have zip code. So long zip code. Yeah. So now what we will do, we will add here address. Is it clear, everyone? Yeah, I didn't do anything extra over here. Whatever we did extra, whatever we did yesterday, the same thing. Now what we need to do, we need to create a repository. Some people will call repository, some people will call services. Anything is fine. Okay, now what we need to do, from the repository, we need to return list of the students. Okay, so that whenever if I call, it will give you the list of the students. What I created here, oh my God, I didn't took the API project. Is it API project? I'm not seeing any API here. The default control. Third service. Do you understand here? This is not the one web API project. You see here, you will get to know in web API project, by default, you will have controllers. Are you able to see any controllers? No, right? So this is wrong. OK. What I will do, that this is the only one thing, right? I'll copy this. Control C. Say new. We chosen the wrong project type, so you can't get that. So ASP.NET Core Web API. This is what we have to choose. I choose an ASP.NET Core Web App. That's the reason. So we are going to work with Web API. Say student next. .NET Core application authentication type. We don't want HTTPS. I'll say yes. Don't say this one. So now today we are going to talk about the main agenda for today is how do you create a document, because in MongoDB everything is called as a document. So how do you create a document and why we need MongoDB and what is the difference between SQL Server and NoSQL? Especially we are going to talk about those things. Controllers. Yeah, this is the right project actually. So here it's already there. OK, no problem. I think it is just renamed. I think it is just renamed. Fine, no issues. So everyone is done till this point, this level yesterday. Now what we are going to do, we are going to create the model is over. Then we are going to write the repository. Some people they will call as a repository. Sometimes they will in some people they will call as a services. Anything is fine actually. So you can say create a repository. Add new folder. These are all separation of concern only. Nothing to do with logical things. This is architecture. How you are going to develop your architecture. That's what the thing over here. So add a class. OK, let's say inquiry service. Or you can say inquiry repository. Anything is fine. OK. So what basically this guy will do? This guy will return the list of the inquiries so that we will populate that in the UI side. So that's the one. But again, it is not interacting with any of the database. OK, as of now, it is not going to interact any of the database. I don't want any constructor also. So what I'll say public. Say list. And it is going to return inquiry. And then get inquiries. So I'm not going to pass any input also. Just this is a basic one to get familiar with Web API. I'm just writing this one. Later, we need to modify this code to interact with our database. Inquiry and say inquiries. Then I'll put for loop. So this is the new feature which is in .NET Core 6 only. The intelligence default it is coming over here. For I'll say where count equal to 0, count is less than 2 and then count plus plus so that it will add 2 records by default. What is problem here? Spelling mistake. Right. So we will create an inquiry object and then we will add that object to the list. I'm going to use object initialization feature so that way it will be useful for us. OK, so then we can add all the properties, like if you say control jet, it will list all the properties. Say student name. equal to, you can hard code the data because anyway it is nothing to do with the database, and then you can put your count variable. Then father name, all we are looking the familiarity with the web API. So father name, then what is the next property, which board he is studying. So you can say CBSE, and then you can say standard, which class. So you can say 7th class, and then email ID of the parent. Say Ramesh plus count plus, it is called string concatenation at gmail.com. All right, next, what else is there? Add contact number. You can put the contact number 988676444616. Then address I am giving as empty. If I'm not passing anything, it will consider as a empty only. So count is less than 2. Now end of the day, you need to add this to your inquiries list. You need to come out of this, say inquiries dot add your inquiry. Okay, so this is the one, add inquiry. Why? Right. So and then finally you need to return this one. Return my inquiries. So if you want to do the alignment, right, if you can press Control KD, it will align properly. So that is the method. Now this is the service layer which is there in my service. Now what we need to do, we need to call this method from the controller, right? So let's go and create a, it's already you have weather forecast controller, but we are not going to use that weather forecast controller. Let me create a new controller. So we are going to talk about API. I'll take this full one. So I can say inquiry controller. So in that, I don't want to use the existing one. So what I will do, I'll say I action result. I hope you people are studied what is mean, what are the different types of I action result will have different types of written things. Okay is there, new empty object is there, file is there, content is there, different things are there, which is basically you can study that. All right, now we need to create an object for my inquiry service. And then you need to call that method inquiry service equal to new inquiry service, then where result equal to inquiry service dot get inquiries. And in fact, no need to pass any parameter. Okay, so what I need to do, I need to check whether the result is greater than, result will have any records or not. So if result is not equal to null, and then the count is greater than 0, right? So the count is greater than 0, then I'll say return result. Else what I'll say, I can say it is a bad request, return bad request. Even you can pass some information. Suppose you want to put your friendly data, you can put that, right? There is no records present. Right. So let me build this application. I hope how many people are there in today's call? I think very less people. That's what you need to show the interest. First day, everyone will be very enthused. They'll see I'll do something, I'll do something. But going forward, the same enthusiasm you need to continue. See, every day you cannot expect new things. So now you understood the basic thing. You can try and explore yourself, because nowadays the knowledge is ocean. Even if you go and watch some videos and try yourself, you have to do like that. Naturally, what happened end of the day, probably I can see one or two people only. Probably today people they don't know, I'm not sure. But usually we need to continue that momentum. Then only it will be benefit. Else it is waste. Is this the one? Yeah, okay. What I will do, I'll take this because we want to execute in the Postman. Let me share my Postman. So this is the one. And if you want to know what is the, see, it is a API slash. Okay, we need to get right. This is the one, API slash inquiry. NQUIRY. And we have a debug breakpoint over here. Let me check whether it is. Yeah, it is hitting here. How many people know how to debug the C# code? Okay, I'll ask how many people don't know. So it will go to the inquiry and it will try to create the records for us, and it will add. And then finally it should return the inquiries, the list of inquiries. So that's it. Now, if you go and stay continue, then you can see the result here. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes.
Yes or no? Yes,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Okay. This is very basic. Nothing here. Even when you studied in college, right? Those times also you might have seen this. But what are the mistakes over here? You see here, this is absolutely wrong, right? You cannot do like this in real-time projects. What else is the mistake? It is a tightly coupled. If you go and see the controller, I'm not using any interface or any dependency injection, right? It is absolutely totally it is wrong. Even if you are doing in college also, it is wrong. Okay, now what we need to do, we need to overcome this problem. What is the first problem? We need to get the records from the database, right? It is static content. Whatever you are seeing is a static content. This is absolutely wrong. We want to get the records from the database. That's what our main objective and the agenda, right? So we will go in that way. But to do that, any database you have to use, right? Basically, we can use Oracle or SQL Server or any database. But especially this session is with the MongoDB, right? That's why we are going to talk about MongoDB. How do I configure the MongoDB, and how to call the MongoDB to create the data? That's what our main objective. Is it clear what we are going to do?
Yes.
Yeah. So today agenda is basic understanding of MongoDB. That is what the main agenda, and insert a record using the concepts. Number one, MongoDB, right? We need to use the MongoDB. So using the concept using number one, MongoDB, then you interfaces, then dependency injection. Yeah, these are all the main important things today we are going to talk about. Is it clear? The context is clear? Okay, all right. So why we need to use MongoDB? Earlier we have SQL Server. We are very good with SQL Server, right? Because not SQL Server, SQL. Basically, I'll say SQL because SQL is supported by the SQL as well as Oracle, right? It is good. Why we need to choose MongoDB? Any idea? Be interactive, please. Don't feel that, don't be shy. Whatever you know, you tell me. Nothing wrong here. Okay, first thing is you need, it is SQL is a, what is that SQL is a, you need to query, right? Structured query language. So data, why it is called structured query language? The reason is data is stored in a structured format. What does mean by a structured format? A table will be there. At the table, each row is identified using something called primary key, right? And if that table is having the relation with another table, how do I identify mapping these two using the primary and the foreign key? And of course, you can create the super keys also. So that means basically when I'm using the SQL server, the data is structured. The meaning of structured is each table or each row in a table is identified using some fields, right? Probably an employee ID. That is nothing but a primary key for that particular table. So that is what the main important thing, right? But when it comes to MongoDB, you don't have any structured relation. You don't have any relationship at all, because here the table, the information inside the table is stored a collection, a document. I can say it is a document. What does the document, in which format the document will be there? It is in the form of JSON. It is in the form of JSON. So that's the main important thing. When it comes to the SQL, it involves handling the data using the relationship, because you will have a relational models. If I have a table over here, this table will have a relationship with another table. Probably using the primary key, this table is also will have one primary key one, and this is also will have a primary key two. But how does this relation? Because this primary key will be referred over here, which is nothing but what you call here foreign key. So basically it is a relationship. When it comes to the MongoDB, we don't have any relationship. That means it is a non-relational database. Non-relational database. That's the main difference. What is the languages are supported? SQL is the primary query language, which is used in case of SQL. But when it comes to the MongoDB, it just supports the JSON query language. JSON query. What is meant by again a JSON? It is a JavaScript object notation, right? So what does mean by JavaScript object notation? You will have a key and then you will have a corresponding value. So it is a key and value paid. That is what the meaning of JSON over here. Is it clear? Okay, how does the data
Yes.
is storage? Data is storage inside the table. When it comes to the SQL, the data is stored in the form of tables, right? The tables. But when it comes to the MongoDB, the data is stored in the form of key value pair in the form of document. Each row is called as a document here. But again, the document will contain key and value pair. Is that clear? In case of SQL, you have foreign key relationship, but MongoDB does not have relationship at all between the two tables, right? Here we won't call as a table, we will call as it a collection. So obviously it does not have a relationship between the tables, or I can say collections. What else is there in SQL? Do you remember in SQL you have something called stored procedures and we have something called triggers. I'm not sure how many people worked on stored procedures and triggers, but real-time project obviously will have a stored procedure. But in case of MongoDB, the big relief is you don't have stored procedures and triggers. Does not allow to create the triggers or the stored procedures. Now, working. See, when it comes to the SQL, we can remember one important property. Acid, probably when we studied these things in our colleges, acid properties, right? Atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. So if you are looking for this, then SQL is the best fit. But I don't want all these things. I'm looking for only the cap. When it comes to the MongoDB, we call it as a cap theorem. Consistency, availability, and partition tolerance. So how this MongoDB, the partition is very, very important. We call it as a partition key that we can discuss later. But at this point of time, my MongoDB will be supports cap theorem instead of acid. So that's what you have to remember. If you need more information about the partition and tolerance, you can Google it. So that lot of information is there in Google. You will get to know. So you got the basic understanding of SQL and Mongo, why we need to go for Mongo and what are all the features of Mongo. The first one is SQL is a relational database, whereas Mongo is not a relational database. So it does not have relationships between the rows or between the tables. So that is the main and important thing. In case of SQL, the data is stored in the form of table, right? Relationships with the table. But when it comes to the MongoDB, the data is stored as a collection. Again, each collection will have a identified using a document. What is the document again? It is a key and value pair. When it comes to the SQL server, we have stored procedures and triggers, whereas we don't have stored procedures and triggers. When it comes to the SQL, we'll have something called ACID, but here we are least bothered about the ACID. But what we will consider here, CAP, consistency, availability, and the partition. Is it clear? The main differences is this one. Of course, you have a lot of differences. You can study yourself, but this is what we need to have fair understanding. Is it clear? Shall I move to the next one? So
Yes.
we spoken about introduction to the MongoDB. Now it's a database, whether it is a SQL, it is a Mongo, there is something called Cosmos DB. It is a SQL. How do I connect to my SQL database? That's the important thing. Usually how we will connect to the SQL database? Any idea? What and all things we will do? We will find the
Connection
server,
string.
right? Server name or server address, right? I shown yesterday somewhere. Yeah, you can see over here. When I want to connect to my SQL, what I need to do? I should have my server name, and then you should have user ID and password. Once you connect to the server, then what you will do? You will choose the database, right? What kind of database you are looking, or what kind of database you are going to work. That is the next important thing. Then finally, you will go with the tables, right? Same thing here, even nothing different here. Probably the terminology is changed over here. So instead of server, what you call here connection string. Connection string. Server name is need to be passed in the form of connection string. Right. Once this connection string will have, obviously connection string will contain user ID and password also. But for our testing purpose, for our local practice, I'm sure that everybody installed the MongoDB. So you can see that there is no user ID and password as of now. You can see this is what my database. So you can go here and get the connection string from here. Databases. You can see the local one. This is what we are going to use. Is it clear? Yes or no? I'll close this
Yes.
because I
Yes.
have 3 instances. I don't know, somehow it's got replicated. So what I want to do, if I want to connect to my MongoDB, this is what my connection string. So I'll say this is the connection string. I don't have user ID and password. I didn't configure. So now you have a connection string. Then once you entered into the server, what you need to know, which database you are connecting. You want to know, you want to communicate to which database. So that is what nothing but database name. In SQL server, right? A server, traditional SQL server, without database name, you cannot interact. Is it correct? See, if I want
Yes.
to insert a record, if I don't have this database at all, I cannot insert a record. Right? But if you are using entity framework, there is something called code first approach, database first approach. There are two approaches are there, code first approach and database first approach. But there also you can insert a record without creating the database. That's what, sorry, database should be there, but without creating the table, you can create a table using the code. But the difference over here, over SQL Server and MongoDB, even the database is not exist. Even the collection table is not exist, you can create. That's the main important advantage. So you need to provide the database name. OK, that's the second part we need to do. If the database is not available, it will try to create. For example, if I'm going to create a student DB, then you can say that student database. You can create a student database. If I pass this as a name, then automatically it will try to create for you from the code, not from the MongoDB. Now, last one is what is your collection? See, understand that here collection is nothing but your table. Collection name is nothing but your table. There we will directly call as a table, but here collection name is nothing but what is your table name. So we are going to insert a record into inquiry. So my document, my table name is here inquiry. So these three properties, these three things are required to talk with my database. One is the connection string. The second one is database. The third one is the table. Is it clear, everyone? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how do I configure in the code, right? When it comes to the code, right? I need to configure. So what we will do, see, because I don't want to hard code that data and anytime it should be loosely coupled, right? In .NET, what we are having web.config file, right? Similarly here, what we are having, which we discussed in the second class, app settings.json, right? App settings.json. So what I will do, I will try to create a setting over here section. I'll try to create a section to interact with my Cosmos DB, right? So what I'll say, student, please follow with me. Student database settings. OK, this is again a key and value. So student database settings colon, right? Inside that, I'm going to provide three keys and the corresponding values. What are those three keys? One is a connection string, other one is a database name, other one is your collection name. So I'll put connection string. Please type with me so that no, it will be easy. So I need to provide my connection string. So from where I need to get my connection string, we need to open the compass. Right here it will be there. So copy and then paste it over here. OK, so comma, then what is my next thing? Database name. Name of your database. As of now, you can see there is no database is available, but runtime it will try to create. Let's put say student DB. Next, last one is you need to create the table. I mean, which table you want to interact. That's what the last one. So I can say student inquiry collection name, which is nothing but inquiry. Everyone type till now. Say yes or no so that we will move. So what is this? Instead of hard coding the value in different places, we are making in a one place. So what is the advantage of this? The below code is used to connect with my database. What is the database? MongoDB. That's the main advantage. So this is how you can comment also. Let me know once everyone is copied. Want me to ping in the chat window? I'll ping you. But I recommend that please try to practice. Because it's not something, see, if somebody tutor comes outside, right, he will be having the all ready-made, and that too he will teach whatever he knows. He won't go beyond the limit, and he don't know what we need to teach also. He will tell something, but sometimes good instructors will be there, and sometimes average instructors also will be there. This is all real time only. Whatever I am telling to you people, it is all real time only. Please copy this and paste it into your app settings.json file. Please maintain the momentum till last day, till next week end or next to next week. Then only you can learn something. Otherwise, it just like, because you can go and watch YouTube also. All these things there are in YouTube also. Because in YouTube, it is a one-way communication only, right? It's not a two-way communication. Here you can ask the questions. All right, done. Everyone copied? Shall we move to the next one?
Yes.
All right. Please others, please answer only. I think Harika only telling Harika or Pooja. I'm not sure.
Dayakar, I have one question.
Sure.
Like in SQL, we have separate tables. So, here for each table, we have a separate collection name, or there is only one collection name. And in that document, we store the data.
Right. As I told, right, separation of concern. Let's say it is for inquiry. So this collection is meant to store only the inquiry information. If I put the student information, it makes sense or it doesn't make sense in real time. It doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So what you need to do in that case, you have to create one more collection called student. Or if I have a feedback, right? Because it does not have a relationship between among the tables, right? So next, I'll give one more task once after this completion. Now I have some feedback. We need to create the feedbacks. Feedback in the sense like what and all you will give in the feedback. First, we need to identify the attributes, right? Rating, comments, these two only, right? Feedback. So that should go in the feedback table, not into the inquiry table, right? Because inquiry is totally different. Inquiry is meant to hold the inquiry information. Is it clear, Simran?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So whenever if something comes, right, new thing comes, new model comes, it is again a new table for me. I don't want to know tightly coupled. All right. So I'm hope that everyone is done till this portion. I'll stop this running one. Now what is next? Now we need to read these things, right? The moment if my application starts, I want to read these values from the app settings.json file. That is what the information, right? I want to read it means I should not read one by one. I'll create a class for that, right? I can create a class for that. And then the moment if I run the application, obviously my settings from here, it should read. Is it clear? What we are going to do now is simple. We need to read this information from app settings.json. I can put that local settings dot and then I can pass the key and then value. No, that is not the good practice again. So what we can do, we can create a class for this as well. Go to the model. Where is my model? Yeah, here. Now you can create and we can play with the interfaces. So directly don't create any class, which is not the best way to do the things. So what I can do, what is this database settings? What database settings it is? Student database settings, right? So I'll create an interface. Student database settings. So it will, oh, sorry, I should take interface. OK, let me delete this one. I took the normal class. OK, let me delete. You can create interfaces. People will create a separate folder. OK, that is also good practice only. You choose the add method, add, let's see class. There you will have something called interface. Yes. So what people will do usually if I is there, then it says that interface. Student database settings. How many people know what is meant by interface? What is the purpose of the interface? Please let me know. If you don't know, no issues. Anybody knows what is meant by interface? What is the purpose of the interface? I'm assuming that it
Interface.
is. Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
So
Go
interface
ahead.
is like defining the definition of the objects or the classes, right? Which can
Right.
be which can be implemented in one or more classes. The definition can.
Right. We can extend, basically, we can extend the definitions. Okay, I'll tell you, I'll give you another example, classic example. How many people knows the payment modes? Many people know, right? Credit card, net banking, UPI ID, right? So what they will do, they will create an interface. In that they will say net banking, UPI are different methods are there, which is there is no implementation, right? So we need to extend that. 1 minute, I'll complete this and I'll say. Okay, let's go here. I'll quickly explain what is meant by interface and see if I have a interface, what I can do, I can extend this. Probably you might have knowing the UML diagram. Right. So what they will do, there is a called something called payment. OK, without interface, right? If I did this payment, right, there is a class called say payment using CC. CC means credit card. Now you written a method only for payment using credit card. Now tomorrow you are going to implement net banking. What you have to do, you have to come to the class and you have to write a new method. Payment using net banking. Tomorrow if something comes, again you have to come to the same class and you have to modify. What is the drawback of this? It is easy, na? I can modify. What is the drawback of this? When you are implementing, right? Which method I need to call? What you will do here? You'll put if condition. If the incoming object is credit card, you will call this method. If the incoming object is the net banking, you will call this method. If the incoming is UPI, you will call some other method. Let's say tomorrow, if some new payment method is there, what you will do? You have to come and write one more here. If else, right? Yes or no? Do you understood what I am trying to say?
Yes.
That is the drawback of the things. So how do I achieve this? You create a interface, okay, like this, and put a method inside the interface. Let's say you'll put a method called payment. Right? This is an interface in I interface. I'll say I payment. The name of the interface is iPayment, but the method name is payment. Now what you will do? If it is a credit card, you will implement the payment method. If it is this is for a credit card, you will create a separate class which is inherited from your iPayment. Similarly, if it is a net banking, which is inherited from that, so that you will have your own implementation. Tomorrow, if something comes new payment method, you are not going to touch these methods or the existing classes. What you will do? You will extend. Extend means you will inherit the I payment and then you will create a new payment method. Is I'm clear? That's the
Yeah.
That's the advantage of this interfaces, just to extend. But how do I call which method is there? That job you will delegate to some other class. What this class responsibility? It will check what is my incoming object. If it is a credit card, then it will create an object for the credit card and then it will call only the credit card. How do you do that? That is a different story. We have something called builder pattern. Using the builder pattern, we will try to create, or you can use the factory, abstract factory also. But most likely here we will use the factory pattern. Using the factory pattern, factory is nothing but is a class. Similar kind of classes will be there. These are all similar kind of classes, right? Based on your incoming object, it will try to create the object, concrete class object. Using that concrete class object, I will call the respective methods. So that is where you need to have interfaces. OK. I'm not sure whether how many people understood, but at least you got the glimpse of the interface. Right. So I created an interface. Tomorrow, if see, I have the student database, which is this is dedicated only for which inquiry collection. Tomorrow, if something comes, I can create one more section over here and then I can extend this. Right, I can extend this interface. So now we need to create a class. I'm going to create in the same here only public class. I can say student database settings, which is got inherited from iStudent.
Jakar,
Right.
is it
Yes.
inherited or implements?
It is implementing the interface. It is not inherited because we don't have multiple inheritance in C#, which is nothing but implementation. Maybe if I said inherited, maybe by mistake I told. All right, now what we need to do, we need to implement all these things. Okay, these are all properties. Nothing is there in the methods, right? It is just implementation, right? I'll put the same thing over here as well. So everyone please copy paste. Let me know once you are done. So with this, our database part is done. Database settings is done basically. Now what we need to do, we need to create a service. From the service, we need to write a method to create a record inside my MongoDB. So what is my next step? So what we need to do, we are going to create a service. What this service will do? Number one, CRUD operation basically. So insert a inquiry details, insert inquiry details where into my DB. What DB it is? MongoDB. This is what we are going to do. Right. Is it clear what we are going to do? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move to the thing. Right. So we have already service somewhere else we created just now. Yeah, repository. I'll go on remove all these things and we'll try. But before that, I need to interact with my MongoDB, right? Visual Studio IDE does not have MongoDB relationship, right? What we need to do? We need to install the MongoDB. We need to refer the MongoDB using the NuGet package manager. You can say right click and say manage NuGet package. So under the package, you can search MongoDB server. This is installed ones, but we need to MongoDB. So you have something called mongodb.driver.core. OK, and you have something called mongodb.driver. You can choose any one, but I prefer to choose this one. Don't ask me what is the difference between these two. To be honestly, I also don't know.
So Dayakar, I think we should select core one. The
Yeah,
MongoDB
but I
driver
chosen this yeah, I chosen this
is
one
for
also. It is
it is
working.
yeah, it will work because you are running it on Windows.
Ah,
Because I think it is for the .NET
correct.
framework. The
Yeah,
first
maybe
one
you
is
are
for the
right.
.NET core.
Right. Maybe you are right. Yeah, maybe Kaushik or how do I pronounce you? Kaushik or Amit?
It's Amit.
Amit. Yeah, you are correct, Amit. See what Amit is telling that because we are in the Windows operating system. So that's why it will work. But if I want to deploy it into the Linux, that is the main advantage of core, right? That time you need to choose MongoDB driver.core. Is it clear? So we need to choose that time, but now you can choose this one only. Even if someone wants to choose it. Let's see if it is not working, then we can see. So I accept this so that it will be installed. How do I know it is installed or not? You can go and see the installed one, or you come over here and see dependents packages, because this is a package, right? So we already installed mongodb.driver. Is it clear? Everyone is clear? Done till now? Please do it, yeah. It won't take much time. See, when you do the hands-on, then only it will be fruitful. Else, you can leave. For that, you can no need to come to here at all. You can listen videos from YouTube. Now, you install the package, right? But when I want to use that over here, what to do? I need to refer that, right? I need to add the namespace of that MongoDB, right? So it is simple, not like SQL Server or Oracle. So using what we are going to do, MongoDB dot driver. So you install that. So now onwards, using this, you can connect to your MongoDB. Right. How do I connect to my MongoDB? Right. Usually in SQL also what you created, you will create a client, right? SQL client you will create. Using SQL client only, you will try to connect, right? Same thing here also, we have something called Mongo client. Mongo client. Using Mongo client, you need to pass the connection string. Please don't write anything so that you will get the client. So this is establishing the connection to your server. Once you entered, you have a contact with your server, then what to do? You need to connect to your database, right? So now what you need to do using client.get database. And then you need to pass your database name, DB name, right? You need to pass the DB name. So once you have the database, inside the database, what I'm having the different collections, right? What collection I am interested? I am interested to the inquiry collection, not all the collections, right? So this is nothing but your database. So this is what my database. So using my database, I am interested to get the collection. What kind of collection I am interested? Inquiry. If it is not there, it will try to create. And then you need to pass the collection name from where, from which you are taking it from the app settings.json. We will see that. This is also DB name also, no need to hard code this. Connection string also no need to hard code. We need to fetch it because that's why we created app settings, right? From there we need to get. All right. So shall we move? Did you understood what all the three things we need to do? One is you need to add the namespace. Wherever you want to interact with your MongoDB, there you need to add the namespace. Once you add the namespace, then you need to establish the connection and get the database. From the database, get whatever the collection, which collection you want to interact, you get that collection. Is it clear? These are the three steps we need to do. Yeah. Let's move on. Let's move and try to do that. Right. So where I need to do this, because when my application is running, at that time it has to do all these jobs. So what is the best place to add this code? Where I can add this code? If I create a method and add, I need to call explicitly, but I don't want to call because this is the initialization, right? All these things are initialization. I don't want to call a particular method and then get the things. The moment it runs, then only I have to do. Then what is the best place? Any idea? All these initializations where we will do usually, we will do in the constructors. Right? We will do in the constructors. Right. So before that, okay. So what I will do, I created a collection, right? I'll say private read only. I'm sure that everyone knows the read only, all these things. MongoDB collection, right? I'm going to talk about the collection. My collection is inquiry and it is an empty. We will use that because I told, right? You need to, here we are going to interact with the collection, right? That time we will use that. Okay. Because inside the method, now onwards, if any method is there, I will use this object because it is already initialized. All right. Now inside the constructor where I'm going to say client equal to, see, intelligence is automatically coming. New MongoDB client, right? But one more thing, we need to read these values, right? Because if I want to talk with my client, I need to get this connection string, right? So how do I get the connection string? That also we need to put it over here. MongoDB client. OK, so for that, you need to refer that because these settings are all defined in app settings.json. But ultimately, you need to call this method, this class, and then read these values. What I can do, because this is extended, instead of putting concrete class, I can put my interface. That's what I'm going to do over here. So student database settings, then student database settings. Is I'm clear? Please let me know if you are not able to understand. Please let me know. Otherwise, it is waste. Why I am doing this? Because as I told, right, you need to pass your connection string, database name, and your collection name. Those information are present in my app settings.json. how do I read these app settings.json using my concrete class? But I don't want to expose my concrete class. That is the reason we have an interface. So that's the reason I am passing interface object here. Is it clear? All right. So now what we need to do, student database settings dot connection string. See, the intelligence is already coming over here. If not, you can see here. That is what I need to pass. I'm passing that. So once you have the client, using the client, I need to access the database. Say where database equal to, so using my client object, client dot get database. You see that this is a overloaded method. You can clearly observe here. It is showing that string name. So name of your database. From where I will get the database name? From this object dot database name. So now your connection is pointed to the database. From the database, you are going to get the collection. I'm not going to get the all the collection. I'm interested only with my inquiry collection. Database dot get collection. You need to pass. This is a generic type, right? This bracket less than greater than means it's a generic. So it will take any inquiry. Today it is inquiry. Tomorrow it might be a feedback. And then you need to pass what is the collection you are interested. Student database settings dot what is my collection name? Student inquiry collection name. That is what we are passing. Is it clear, everyone? So till now
Yes.
what we did in the what is this constructor we are initialized. So we established the connection between our MongoDB and to our class. Now what we need to do, finally you need to insert a record into your database. So I'm not going to touch the get. OK, I'll write the new one. How many people know synchronous calls and asynchronous calls? Public async, because it supports both async and synchronous, but I'm going to take asynchronous calls. I'm assuming that everyone knows synchronous and asynchronous. Create inquiry. Create inquiry or asynchronous. And then what we need to pass, inquiry model we need to pass. So now the actual thing is it should interact with the database. Whenever if you have asynchronous, right? We want to talk with asynchronous model. If you see here, inquiry collection dot, you can say that something called insert, not create, insert. You can see here, insert many async is there, insert one is there, insert one async is there. But I'm using asynchronous method. Whenever if you are calling asynchronous method, right? What you need to do, you need to put await. Await is a keyword. If you know the difference between asynchronous and synchronous, then you will know obviously you need to put the await. What we are trying to do, which method we are trying? We are trying to insert. How many records we are inserting? Only one record, right? So at this point of time, I'm inserting only one record and passing my incoming object, passing my incoming object. And then I'll try to return the same inquiry to the end user. Is it clear? Everyone understood? Please let me know. This is what called XML comments. What this method is doing, this, the below method is used to create an inquiry into database. You can say MongoDB. Is everyone is clear?
Yeah, actually, I have one question. Like,
Sure, go ahead.
how we are connecting app setting value to the student database setting?
I'll come to that. I'll come to that. That is the important thing at last I'll tell. Yeah.
Okay.
So his question is, right, it is reading it. We are telling that, but how come it is reading, right? We didn't written any code. For that, that's where the dependency injection comes into the picture. I'll tell you that. Okay. Till now, everyone is clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me join my meeting and then I'll be, I think you will be go to the, I'll check quickly what is going on in my meeting and then I'll be there in the call. Don't disconnect.
Okay.
Hello all. Hello, is it audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I actually maybe hearing some background noise. I connected the other meeting by using my mobile. Please bear with me. Okay. I hope my screen sharing is there or not there. It's not there, right? Now you
Yeah,
are
now
able
you
to
are.
see my screen.
Yes.
Hello. Yeah. Right. So we are done with this. Now the last part is, right now we have a database. What and all we did? We have a database. Database is there and service is also there. The last step, we need to call this service from the controller, right? We need to establish the relationship between from controller to the service. That is what we need to do. That is the last step. After the last step, we have something called configuration. That is where somebody asked the question, how does it read? That will come to the later. We need to do the configuration. It is a one-time activity. Now we will move controller to, we will try to call the service from the controller. Okay. That's what we are going to do now. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. So let me. Okay. We have already inquiry controller, right? I will use the same thing. Okay. But this is a get. Now what we have to do? We have to post. So we can say HTTP post. I'm removing these things. So what we are going to send the data? We are going to send the. I'll rename this. Create inquiry, right? You need to pass the data, right, to this method, right? Even from UI, if you are calling, you need to send the information. What information it is expecting? It is expecting the inquiry information, right? Right. Is it clear? Yeah. The first step, I didn't do anything. Okay. Let me assume that it is going to return because we need to call the async call. So that means it should be async method. Say task. I'll say that I action result. Please go through this. What is action result? What is asynchronous method? Then only it will be very clear. So I can say that if inquiry is not equal to null. There are many validations we can do, but for time, due to the time constraint, I'm not doing any validations. All right. Now I need to call. Where is this? This service. How do I call this method? Any idea how to call this method? Usually, because this class, this method is there inside my inquiry service. So from another class, if I want to call, what you will do, you will create an object of this class and then you will call this method, right? But we are going to use dependency injection. So we should not follow that approach. What we have to do in the constructor, we have to inject the dependency injection. That's what I'm going to do over here. Private read only. And what is that service name? Inquiry service underscore inquiry service. It is a null basically. I will initialize this inside the constructor. So this is what my
Yakar,
constructor.
you are writing on the wrong place. It should be within inside the class.
Ah, correct. You are right. Thank you. So what I will do here, I'll pass. Right. So this is where I'm injecting the things. OK, is it clear? It is showing error. Method must have a return type. Constructor does not have a return type. Why it is showing return
No,
type?
the name is incorrect for that constructor. It should be inquiry
Ah,
service.
okay. Inquiry controller. Right. So now what we can do going forward, if I want to call any method, which I'm going to define this service inside the service, I can call using this. So anywhere I didn't use the new keyword. That is the beauty of this. Okay. I will, because this is what I'll what I will do. I'll comment this method. So what we are trying to do, we are going to use this method. So dot, the moment if I say dot, you can see that create inquiry. And then you will pass the inquiry object, isn't it? Yes or no? Understood?
Yes.
Yeah, that's about this method. And then we can return the same inquiry, whatever it is inserted, right? So what you can say, return. Okay. What you are going to return, same inquiry object. There are many things we have to do using MongoDB. Next class we will do, because I'll tell you what are the drawbacks of the existing system. Still we have a drawbacks of the existing system. So if the form is null, then we are returning. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes.
Yeah. Now the last step. See, we need to establish the relationship between, because how the dependency injection is working over here. How the configuration things are reading when the project is running, it has to read the values from the app settings.json, right? There is no connection as of now. So that we have to specify. Where I have to specify, we have to specify in the program.cs. Okay, what and all things I need to specify. First, we need to add the service to the container. Okay, so let me add. So builder dot services dot. First, we need to configure and then we have to add. There is something called configure. So what is this configure will do? Student database settings. Then we have to say builder dot Control J, builder dot configuration dot get section. Somebody asked, now you are able to see, right? This is how it will read and it will populate the values.
Right.
1 second. Dot get section. See here, by default, you are getting. So it will try to read that this section, student database settings. If you go and see here, obviously in your app settings, you will have this value. Student database settings. It is there here, right? You can see. So it will try to read this settings when the project is loaded. Is it clear? This is one thing. Now we need to add the dependency injections. Okay, how do I add the dependency injection? Builder dot services dot. What are the three different dependency injection? Life scope, add singleton, scope, transient. Okay, you can take anything. I'm looking for add singleton of what is my interface? iStudent database settings, right? If I see the iStudent database setting, what I need to do? I need to create an instant for student database. So that is where we have to use provider. It will be a little bit difficult initially, but once you get habituated, right, it will be easy. Provider dot get required service. Get required. What kind of required service you are looking? You are looking for iStudent. 1 second. Get required services. I option. Of which one you are looking? You are looking into the student database. From there, you are looking the values, right? From the student database, you are looking the value. Is it clear? What is this value will return? This value will return these guys because this is a key and this is a value. So it will initialize all these things into your, where is my interface? These properties. It will assign the values into these properties. That is what we are doing over here. Is it clear? Yes or no?
Yes.
You just, I mean, in a single shot, it won't be clear. Definitely. You just go ahead and try to do the things so that it will be clear. But only thing is you need to practice. So builder.services.add singleton. This is what my interface. From the interface, you are trying to initialize the properties of this class. There is one more thing. The service is also there, right? Because if you see here in my inquiry controller, I injected my service. The same thing you have to create. You have to add the services also. But services does not have any interfaces. It is a straightforward services dot add singleton. This is also wrong. Always you should have a interface. This time, instead of going add singleton, I can go with the scoped one. Dot add scope. Right? I can do this. What I am trying to do here, less than bracket inquiry service. Right. This is what one time activity. This is and all one-time activity. Is it clear? But these things you need to put before the add controllers. Remember that, or at least before build. So now everything is ready. So it will read the values from the app settings.json and it will fill the properties. Now we are injected the dependency of my service also. So now let me build. If you want, I can send this code in the. Suppose if you are getting any error, try to add these namespaces. So what is this code? Program.cs code. So it is built successfully. OK, then I need to run the application. Yeah, I ran successfully, right? Then we need to call these methods, right? Then we need to call these things. Let me show you. Right. Everyone done till now? If you are done, you can see the things. So this is what my service. OK, and this is what my controller. Right, from the controller, we are calling the service by passing this inquiry object. Then move to this one. OK, let me close and save. Right. So I already executed for my test purpose. So you need to put localhost API. What is the controller name? How do I get that? From here you can see. Or in here it might be there. In the Swagger itself. Inquiry, right? You can put that inquiry. And one more thing. You need to fill the JSON object, right? So that object you need to pass in the body. OK, so what you need to choose here, raw. You need to choose the raw body because it is a post, right? First thing you need to choose a post, then body, raw, and then in the body you need to pass the JSON object, student name, father name, standard, all these things you need to pass and say send. OK, can you please do this because I already did. That's the reason I got the response also. So see that the breakpoint is hit over here. I already put the breakpoint. So I'll say yes, continue. No problem, Chidu. We will try to find out the solution for that. Thank you. Yeah, correct. What time, Chidu? 8:30, right? 8 to 8:30. I will be there. I'll be there. No issues. Let me check what time we have today. Bye. Sorry, yeah. So see, it came to here, F10 you can put, and whatever the information you passed, right? It will be there here. See all this information. Then it will call F11, it will go and it will try to insert. If it is already there record, it will try to overwrite. OK. Save OK. Then you can see that this is the response. It's 200 OK. And then now we can go and see whether my record is inserted or not. My record is inserted or not. That is what we need to see over here. See here, it created a database student DB and it created a collection called inquiry. Inside the collection, I'm having a document. So this is how we will do. Is everyone clear? At least anybody did parallelly along with me? You can see this kind of output. I hope you understood. Hello?
Yes,
Yeah, right.
understood.
Okay, please. If not, please try to do. I mean, anyway, you will have half an hour time. It is more than enough. See, if you are not understood, let me know. I'm there to help you. Any number of time I can explain. It's a simple. Whatever we did, it's a real time. This is how we will do in the real time project. Okay, nothing. No. But of course, there are some things we need to do to be because the inquiry service is there, right? It is not an interface. It is just a class. We need to convert this inquiry service into a interface. That is the next step we have to do. And the second thing, if you go and observe here, what is the property names here? It is a student name. It's a capital. But when it comes to the JSON, right? Always people will suggest that use the lowercase. We need to convert this into the lowercase. So we will see that into the next class. Meanwhile, I'll give you some homework. It's a very simple. Try to create a feedback. So what are all the attributes I can put the feedback? Feedback attribute is rating. OK, comments, all right? Comments. Who provided the feedback? Who provided the feedback? So you need to create a custom class like how we created a model, right? Where is the model? Yeah, we created a model called inquiry, right? Similarly, what you need to do, you need to go ahead and create a new model called uh, feedback. Similarly, this one is used only to put the inquiry, right? This is used only for the inquiry. Same you have to replicate. And what else you need to do? You can go ahead and do one more settings here. That's what you have to do. Or you can use the same thing. You add one more entry here, which is nothing but not for the feedback. Sorry, not for the inquiry, right? Say, for example, student. Instead of inquiry, you have to put feedback. When you are passing, right, you need to pass the feedback one, not the inquiry one. Where I need to pass this, you can go ahead and see in the inquiry service, right? Similarly, you need to create one more service called feedback service instead of the collection name. These two are same only because we are not going to change the MongoDB URL. We are not going to change the MongoDB database. We are going to change the collection name instead of student inquiry collection name. You need to pass the student, whatever the name I given over here, student feedback collection name. And then you need to create a particular same similar way. You need to create inquiry instead of inquiry. You should go with the create feedback. And similarly, you need to create a controller instead of inquiry controller. You have to create a feedback controller. Is that clear? Okay, that is one thing. Suppose if people are not very much familiar, now this is inserting, right? Why can't you write to no public, right? Async task. We need to return the list of inquiries. List, right? Get the inquiries. Inquiry. So what we can say? Get inquiries async. Please try to do this method. At least try to implement this. I'm not going to pass any input over here. OK, so await. I'm not sure what is the method is available over here. Get is find is there. Get all is probably find sync. These are all find sync. Let me go and see. As collection count. Count documents, get documents, something will be there. Delete is there. You can see that this is a delete. Similarly, we will have something called insert is there, insert many is there. Update is there. How do I get? Yeah, explore that. How do I get and explore that? So you need to get all the records. That's the one you need to do. Did you understood what I'm asking? Simple. Even if you don't know, right? Google it. Even nobody knows everything. Please Google it. Please, our friend. What is the method is there to get the any idea? See how to get all the records, all the records from MongoDB collection using C#. That's all you have to do.
Priyanka, I think you have to return the whole collection.
Right. Is there any one? Let me check. Whole collection. Huh?
No,
Okay. Inquiry collection. That's all. Huh?
right. Dot to list.
Okay. Dot to list. That's it. Please, I mean, that's what I'm telling, right? Nobody knows everything. You have to Google it, or sometimes you can apply a little bit, right? Then you'll get it. But it is not taking collection. Probably I can say, what is the return type of my collection? This is what, right? What is the return type? iMongo collection. I can pass here iMongo collection. Oh, not sorry, not here. Sorry, here. iMongo collection of inquiry, because you are going to return. See, no. Okay, explore more. So don't expect that everything will come just like that. Explore yourself. So that's what the next assignment. You can see somewhere else they might have written. Yeah, collection. This is finding which item you are
So
using the current.
yeah, I think this should work because it is going to use find and return true for all of them.
Right, let me check. Instead of this, I need to use inquiry collection. To list. Anything we are missing?
The return type should be of the inquiry
Let me check.
list.
Yeah.
Of inquiry.
List of inquiry, correct. Task, I'll say task, list of inquiries. One more bracket is missing. Right, what it is showing, not all code paths. Any brackets is missing. So I
Return
need to
is
put return statement. Right, that's all. Okay, now it is ready. So for that, you need to write a method in the controller. You use the same because same controller you use because it is all controller. So you can use this one only. Control KU and then oh, it is running mode. Okay. So what I will do, I don't want to use this because I will call using this one. I have inquiry service, right? It will instead of get, I have a method get inquiries. Let me go and see. Yeah. Instead of calling this method, we need to call this one. And it should be asynchronous. Okay. We'll remove everything. And same thing, whatever we did here, right? You will put the same thing here. I'll say get. Then we need to return because this error is coming to because it is not returning anything. Return OK. Yeah, that's all over. But you need to do fine tune this. If the result is coming null, we need to return the bad request and appropriate error message. Yeah, that's all you have to do. If I run this, it will return all the record. Is it clear? Same thing try to do for delete. So when you are coming tomorrow, try to get all the inquiries as well as delete. Please practice, then only we will remember, else you will forget it. All right, we will stop it over here. Tomorrow we will try to enhance this. We have some drawbacks of this system. OK, we will try to enhance the things. All right.
Okay.
You want me to share this one or you have everyone? You want me to share this code? I can share. OK, let me share. Control A, Control C. In the window only I'll share. OK, anyway, we can disconnect. I'll share this information.
Okay.
Sometimes no,
Thank.
don't directly copy paste it. You put it in the notepad and then take it. some extra characters will be appended. Feel free to ask. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. My sincere suggestion
Thank
to
you.
everyone is please attend till last minute. Don't disconnect in between. I know it is very difficult to maintain the tempo, but then please. Okay, bye. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye.
No problem.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Take care.